I just had this sudden urge to bust out into song of
Do
I
it.
shot the sheriff, but I
But
did
you did not shoot the messenger.
exactly. Thank you for picking up what I'm putting down.
Per usual.
So today's topic is don't shoot the messenger. And we're going to try something new. We're going to set a clock for 20 minutes because we realize we have a tendency to go over. So you'll hear a beep, beep, beep. And then no matter where we are, we're just going to cut the podcast. And be a part two.
And we're doing that for you. We're doing it for the listener. We want to respect your time. 20 minutes done.
So ready? 20 minutes on the clock. Don't shoot the messenger. Go. So
Should we start with the messenger?
I guess so. So in
Yes. Our messenger.
exactly. In this group, I am the messenger.
Yeah.
And I feel like every group has a messenger. I just
For
that's
sure.
kind of like my in like my that's my thought process. And the messenger is that person that says the thing that everyone else wants to say, or maybe hasn't even quite formulated, or that comes from spirit, or D, all of the above. And they're terrified to thus say whatever it is that they feel called and pushed to say.
Or sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's the one in the group. They're not always terrified to say
That's true. I'm speaking from experience as the messenger. I feel like Jade or Kaylin, you guys can tell a story as to where this happens. I mean, it happens on a daily basis,
I was going to
but
say which time, because I feel like this is a daily, weekly, monthly occurrence. There's always, I think, in our situation between the three of us and what we're talking about as far as the messenger goes, I mean, it's some pretty sometimes exciting things to share, but other times not so exciting messages that Cass will get. That we're human, right? And so even though she knows that she's supposed to share it, it's like, ugh,
yeah.
like I don't know how this is going to be received.
I think
So
the disability story and is pretty good one.
Jade, would you like to tell your disability story?
So I hadn't really shared a lot with Cass and Kaylin about the journey I've been taking with my son, realizing that he has something called dyscalculia, which is basically the math form of dyslexia. And it is, he's just neurodivergent. And I've always known that. But to kind of like have a label to kind of work towards has been helpful to me. It's not always helpful as a parent, but it's been helpful to me. And in doing this for him, I have realized that I also have the same disability. And it wasn't like a slow realization. It's like the first time I read the screening and the pre-screening, I was like, well, damn, that explains a lot. Like I, have kind of embraced that. I've got this disability and I've been working with it my whole life and I'll continue to do so. But it helps explain a lot of things.
for the listeners, can you please go into detail about not super like deep detail, but like high level detail about what those symptoms are or those screening questions that were like ding, ding, ding. I
Sure.
identify.
So crazy things like not being able to unlock doors very easily or always pushing the door open when it needs to pushing it instead of pulling it. Misunderstanding directions, not being able to follow like game rules. Like if I'm thrust into a game situation and they're like, here's the rules, I'm like, oh, that I don't have any idea what you just said. Like there's no like active team sport I can play. I will always make a goal on the other teams. Like I cannot understand what they're talking about. I forget things. You guys are laughing. It's
Note to
good.
self.
It is so funny because my whole life I've kind of just kind of laughed through it and totally froze. Okay. So loud noises can be really distracting to me if I'm trying to think. I lose things all of the time. So these are some of the daily ways it plays out. And in addition to that, just the basic fact, like I can't memorize like the multiplication table or just math. Very simple math is hard for me. Even if it's explained to me, I'll lose that. I've learned how to do some things through the years, like count change and stuff, but that took like a minor miracle. So these are kind of the ways that this
I'm like, note to self, no company soccer games, and don't leave the cash bag with Jade. Got it.
So these are some of the ways that it plays out and still affects me a lot as an adult, right? So yeah, I've been kind of coming to terms with that in myself, and just like, that's just kind of a scary word to give yourself. Like, I have a disability, right? So I had just kind of like the day before we had this session, I feel like someone else should break in and tell part of the story, right?
Yeah. We'll pop in.
Yeah, you hop in.
Oh, I was going to say, we're in the process of building an Oracle card deck.
Yes.
And this all came about because we were doing a reading with a past client of mine who is a magical artist / intuitive. And she had said some things, and we have a tendency that after we go to these healers or psychics or mediums or anyone who has any sort of gift, we actually come back together and just kind of like, I do a download sesh in between the three of us and be like, oh, like, what did you think about this? And we kind of use their intuition and perspective and kind of combine it with ours and kind of dissect it a little bit more and get a little bit more clarity, because a lot of times, A, they don't know the whole picture, obviously, but C, like, or like B, like sometimes people will have perspectives that they think it's one of us and it could really be another one of us.
Mm-hmm. And especially, I feel like when we get a reading done for the three of us, I think for a lot of healers and a lot of intuitives, that can be really hard if they have a closer relationship to one over another, because kind of like you said, they put their own spin on it because like, well, I know you and I know you, but I don't know your story. So I can kind of piece this together, even if it's not the correct pieces.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah. Yeah. So this beautiful healer kept talking about seeing this girl with a disability. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it was me. And we were all kind of, coming to some different conclusions.
What is beautiful about what she was saying is that what she was seeing is as the three of us come together and as our mission is more completed and as we continue to do the good that we're supposed to do in the world, the disability goes away, and we'll know that we're on the right path because the girl that she was seeing was getting better.
So she actually thought, just because, so she was with me, and this will be a podcast for a different day. My daughter was nonverbal until she was like 3 years and 4 months old. Almost no talking, and Jade and Kaylin can attest to this. Like she was, and based upon my healing and my work, she literally started talking that one of the evenings that I had sat with Mama Aya. And that's ayahuasca. We've never really talked about her on this podcast. So
I can't believe we haven't.
I know. We'll do an intro to Mama in a little
on the docket.
Yeah.
But it was technically, we thought it was a disability. We went through all of the autism stuff. So this healer that we're now working with knew that part of my story and knew Diana and knew kind of all the things that I was going through. So there was an assumption, which is a very fair assumption, that as we continue to do this, Diana will be better. And I was like, okay, but I don't know if that's exactly correct.
Exactly. Perfect. And to be fair, so we had this session with her, which was intense. Like it wasn't all unicorns and rainbows. Like she gave some really intense information. I think the three of us all went away from it and like needed to just take some space because it was a lot of information. I still am like processing through some of the things that were said. I'm sure absolutely the two of you are still working through that as well, as we normally do. Even with the other intuitives that we've met with and stuff, it's like we continue to work through and see pieces here and there and talk through them. But that one in particular, I appreciate that she was like, held nothing back and shared exactly what she saw. But it wasn't all pretty and it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns and, beauty. There was a lot, and there were warnings and there were things that she saw. And so we all had to sit with it for pretty much the rest of the day. We all went on our own, separated, worked, and took space and kind of processed through. Which brings us to the moment.
Yeah, so there were a couple of things in there that, like, as I was sitting with it for that, couple hours of like, that started getting really clear for me. And I like always go to Kaylin first, especially when it's about Jade. And I always go to Jade when it's about Kaylin. I could be like, it's triangulation. I know that. I'm well aware of it, but it's like my coping mechanism.
Funny is she probably gets the same response out of me as she gets out of Jade, which is like, just fucking tell her.
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
But again, like some of this stuff that comes up, I'm like, oh my God, what happens if I ask Jade if she has a disability? Like, that's not your average conversation. And then now, that we just recorded the divorce gate episode, if you missed that one, go back. I was like, oh shit, everyone's gonna leave me.
She's gonna divorce me.
I have abandonment issues too. I know that. That's a podcast probably for a different time as well.
To be fair, the message that you got was more than just that Jade is the one with the disability. Yes. You also got another really big bombshell when it comes to Jade.
Yes. What was that? Oh,
to close her what business. Was that? Ooh, what was that?
As soon as I say it, though, it flows in and out. So
yeah,
I did get the fact that Jade was the person with the disability, and I was like, that's really weird. Like, but I'm like, my intuition is like super crystal clear. So, and I have a tendency, because I've done this for so long and worked with it for so long, that if I push back, I get pushed back. So I'm like, okay, no, like I feel like this is 100% true. So I got that piece, and then I got the piece of like Jade is doing too much and supposed to step further in, and like we keep getting this message, and this comes across from all of our healers: you need to prune, you need to cut back, you need to prune, you need to cut back. And I'm like,
keep it simple.
Yes, cut back everything. I'm like, what else could we possibly cut back? Like,
we keep cutting back and it's still getting the message, and I've never applied that message to my own personal like myself personally. So Cass got the message that it was about me personally, and I was the girl with the disability as well. So she's like trying to explain this so cutely. Your voice when you're so cute when you're telling the downloads. It's kind of, you get this like kind of giggly sort of like
Those ears told me to say this.
Don't shoot me.
Which I do,
and I'm like,
which is a big piece of the work though that I do with the trio of us, and this has been brought up by many of our intuitives, is like, remember who the message is coming from, like remember who's the author, remember, etc. And because like I do have a tendency to be like, again, I guess I have hyper independence, as we've discussed many episodes, like throughout many episodes, but I also have this like abandonment piece that like, yes, I'll be fine without you, but like I really want you to love me, and like I really don't want you to hate me from what it is I'm about to like say. So I told them that, and I said, I literally feel like the visualization that I got was like, I was throwing, mind you, this happened, I should preface this by saying this happened like a day before I was set to go away for a week.
Right.
So like correct. I said, I feel like I'm in the movies where they take the pin out of the grenade and they throw it and they run.
And then they run away. Mic drop.
She did. She mic dropped on us.
I did. But then again, it all further connects, because Jade's like, oh, well, I've been pulling this card that I forgot to tell you guys. And it's like the crumbling. I'm like, well, no shit. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been pulling the tower over and over again. I've been all of these different pieces. And so she says something about me being the girl with the disability. And I'm like, oh, well, you guys know I have a disability, right? And they're
like, no.
And I'm like, didn't I mention this journey I've been on? I thought I at least mentioned it. I still maintain that I at least said something, but you guys are both, we have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, so I wouldn't remember, but Kaylin remembers everything. Kaylin is like a steel trap.
Correct. Yes. I am a steel trap.
Truth.
And I would 100% remember if you had said that you had a disability, especially one that involves all of those things. Like that would have stuck. That doesn't just like come in and out.
That's so true.
Like Kaylin can remember probably better than I can what I had for lunch today. Like
totally.
She's that level.
Right. So yeah, when you said those words about the disability, I was like, yeah, well, I have one. And then, yeah, as soon as you said like prune your business and the ways that we kind of talked about that happening, it was another like full body. Yes, that is exactly what I'm supposed to do. This has felt like what I needed to do. It was just hard for me to let go of. And I just needed kind of permission. So your downloads from spirit were for my, for me personally, and then for us as a business. So what if you wouldn't have said them? That would have been horrible.
I mean, there's a lot of times
figuring out what needed to be pruned.
I mean, also, same with like the creation and the start and like conception of this as well was like downloaded and uncomfortable, which I think we've alluded to that story a little bit kind of throughout the podcast episodes, but like generally my downloads involve yes, squeaky giggly or like breakdown on beach. Like they're so apparently they're getting more graceful.
Yeah. There were no tears, so that's good.
No, not this time. But like I also feel like, again, like this is clearly my role in this position in life, but I'm like, I always question like ancestral and generational trauma. Like, so I feel like so much of my lives, past lives, current life has all been like silenced and trying to fit a narrative and trying to fit a status quo and trying to like fit in and trying to like puzzle piece myself. So like obviously like kind of going back to the divorce gate conversation that we had last episode, like Kaylin's like where I would do it, but it's the demise of myself, at the demise of myself. Like I would basically not tell you a download at the demise of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you guys are just like,
I just got, well, yeah, that was so heavy and so deep, because then I realized that alluding to our last conversation, our last episode, would not cause tension in a place where I was supposed to. Like I will completely shut down because I'm so tired of being the one that pushes the buttons in the room. So I'll just not even show up at all. Yeah.
Damn.
That's
and this is why we're doing this podcast. If anything, it's a therapy session for us.
Correct.
If there are no,
say it's our conversation. So,
and also our question, what was the jar of questions episode we did?
Oh, goodness. That was episode 23.
So episode 23, we talk about these questions that we do every week. Well, we did another one, dear listeners, this morning without your presence. And our question for each other was today was, what's something that I can start doing as a business partner? And you guys were both like basically saying, show up. And so some of that answer that I was giving, like my healer told me yesterday, I'm in the shadows and I'm dancing and I'm happy, but I'm in the shadows. I have to be willing to do my job, which is to create tension if that's what needs to be created. And that's hard for me because I'm sick of doing it, but it's my job in this life. So
I also don't
we also have two people that are like, yes, fuck with me.
I know.
Please.
Right. Yeah.
Push me.
Reverse cowgirl.
Sorry. Well, if you have no idea what we're talking about, you have to listen to the other episode about missionary, but no, like it's funny to me because like this element of like show up. I'm like, I think I asked you, and I forget when, I think it might have been around the same conversation that we had post healer, but I was like, Kaylin's dying over here. Kaylin's still fixated on sexual positions. We'll have to do another episode just based on that. But Kaylin, is there anything you'd like to share with the class?
My mind's eye right now has this visual of Jade reverse cowgirling anyone that she's ever fucked with, and so that's where I'm gonna be.
Woo! I like that.
Wow, you're gonna need to cleanse your third eye.
I really just wipe me off here. Let's see, what do I have?
Okay,
get your stage out.
Stress away. I'll do it.
What was I saying? I totally lost it. It's gone. It's fucking gone.
It was really good though. Can't you remember it?
No, once I say it, it's gone. Goodness gracious. Oh, about during that same conversation, I was said to Jade, I was like, I feel like because I've been pushing Jade on the human design side of things too. And I'm like, manifesting generator. I'm like, and then same with human design, or same with Enneagram. I was like, you're not the same. Like, you're not a 7-wing 8. You're not a 7-wing 8. She's like, I am. I promise. I took the test 72 times.
Exactly. You're like, I just haven't seen that wing 8 show up at all. Like, I've yet to witness that. And I'm like, yeah, that's because there's a lot of what I'm doing, even in our situation together, the three of us, where I don't want to do that again. I'm sick of being the one to cause tension because it often results in people like getting so uncomfortable. That is what it is.
So does knowing your human design gate from the other day change that desire to not want to push tension? If you know that is your purpose?
Your
right divorce gate?
No, your right angle cross.
Ask that question again, because I don't think I got the dyscalculia. My disability did not allow me to.
Okay, now you can't just use that every fucking time. But anyway.
Do you need me to translate for you, Cass?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the discovery that you had of your right angled cross, does that change that for you now? Now that you know that that's your purpose, does that change that when it comes to us in these situations?
Great question. Yeah, I'm sitting with it because I just figured it out like 2 days ago. And it's kind of like when I learned that my moon was in Capricorn, which is I had to sit with that for like 3 weeks. I'm like, I fucking hate Capricorns. I don't want this. It's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I'm having to come to terms with it. I'm having to see it as a tool in my tool belt. I'm having to, instead of like something that I need to cover up or change about myself, it's like literally yet another level of me accepting myself.
Which is so cool.
It's so cool.
And of course, the integration in me is like, figure it out and integrate it tomorrow.
Now.
Exactly. I mean, 2 days ago, it's like, you've had 48 hours. Like,
you don't have it figured out already. You should have known before you knew.
Integrate tomorrow.
Correct.
Yeah, no, this is all happening and unfolding as it should. It's great. It's so great. Yay. Hasn't it been 20 minutes yet?
I don't know. It's not ringing. It looks like it's close.
Oh, I knew it. See, I have a time thing. Despite my disability, okay, now I have this ability. I have this ability to know, like, when, like, if it's been a certain amount of time.
Well, we did it. It's been 20 minutes, so
thank you all.
Yeah.